Let's take a breath together. For those of you that are our guests this morning, we do that because the breath is the thing we all share, and it brings us into alignment. So this month, we're kicking off a new theme, Everyday Wonder as Finances. What could go wrong? The whole topic of finances can be a landmine field, right? When I was in Santa Rosa with Reverend Dr. Edward Viljoen, who's now our organization's spiritual leader, he said something one time when he was teaching about finances that has continued to ring true. We are more comfortable talking about our sex lives than our bank accounts. Now that's interesting to me, but I have found it to be infinitely true, which is just weird, I think. It's not factually weird. It's weird for me. Maybe it's weird for you. We have 5 Sundays this month, so we're going to approach this topic from the same perspective that we approach affirmative prayer in the 5 steps. And so we're going to start with the thing itself, and then we're going to talk about how we are it in form, and then we're going to talk about how it works, manifest from that, and then we're going to talk about gratitude, and then we're going to talk about the really scary part when it comes to finances. Let it go. Right? I don't know about you, but there's a human part of me that when I get to the part of, now I'm all good with those first 4 steps, but then when I know that the next step is for me to let go of control, I get a little freaked out. My Capricorn brain, oh no, I must control this. Anybody else? Maybe it's just me that needs to control their finances. I'm willing to entertain that. Not. So that's how we're going to approach it throughout the month. And as I shared briefly earlier, I will be doing a workshop after service every Sunday to continue to help us take that deeper and really put it into something tangible that we can work with. So our topic today is swimming in the infinite ocean. And my brain started arguing, right? Because is the ocean really infinite? It has shores. And right behind that came, it's a metaphor, shut up. But I just, it's important to me to be real with you because I'm thinking if I argued with it, maybe somebody else does. Because I'm just not that special that I have things that other folks don't have. It's just not how it works. But if we're in the middle of the ocean and we look around, we can't see the shore, right? So we're left with this idea of infinite. Much like scientists who keep thinking they have found the edge of the quantum field, and then it's more, right? Because it's interesting to me that we have a word for infinite, and we keep trying to disprove it by making it finite. That's the brain. That's the computer. That's the hard drive in this computer called a human being. That's all that is. And thank God we have that process because that's how we learn. We have ideas and we have hypotheses, and then we go about either proving or disproving those hypotheses. Right? So in our attempts to find finite, we keep proving infinite. How cool is that? That this one quantum field that as far as we've been able to ascertain is everywhere present. There's no place where it's not. And perhaps Eventually, we will get to a realization that the quantum field is, in fact, consciousness itself. But that requires us to move beyond consciousness as the psychological state of mind, but to a substance, to an infinite substance. Much like if we're floating in the middle of that ocean, we are surrounded by water. Right? All we know is that it goes on forever. As far as we can see on every horizon, there's just more of it. And we are in it. And there doesn't seem to be a way out of it. Now, if you're stranded in the ocean, you want to get out. Right? Let's acknowledge that. But in the infinite oneness of creation, why would we want to get out of that? But we do. We argue. Our human argues for our limitations all the time, and we don't even know it. And part of that is because we have this concept of big, and we have this concept of enough, and then we put them together and we come up with the idea of big enough, and then we decide what that will be for us. And even if it doesn't satisfy us, we settle. Anybody else ever settled for anything? What if we are only bound by that idea? What if? Right? A lot of us, maybe even all of us, are raised with some very interesting paradigms about money. Some very interesting paradigms about who gets it, who has it, what does it mean when you're in either of those groups. Right? I ain't judging, I'm just saying, perhaps we've established some limited paradigms in this human realm that keep us from experiencing our divine birthright of abundance. Notice I said experience it. I didn't say get it. Abundance is not something you can get. Stop shopping. Abundance is what you are. It is your divine nature. You are made out of it, so you must contain it. Abundance isn't a thing, it's a spiritual principle. In an infinite, eternal something, I think that pretty much defines abundance, yes? The problem is, we keep trying to make abundance look like a thing. I have abundance of bowls, and I have an abundance of ringers, and I have an abundance of rocks, and now I feel like I'm in the Steve Martin movie, The Jerk. Flashback. This is all I need. Anybody? If you've ever seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Oh my goodness. Come back. What if we were about the business of practicing abundance and let go of how it shows up? Let go of when it shows up. Let go of where it shows up. That we practice living in a consciousness and awareness of abundance. And instead of deciding it has to be here and it has to be here, that we ask, where is it? That we allow ourselves to be guided to it. That we, like the movie The Labyrinth, if you remember when we watched that movie, she's standing right at the edge of the labyrinth and she can't see the entrance. And it's right in front of her face. Right? And so what if we leaned into this idea of abundance from that perspective, that we're just going to enter the labyrinth and we're going to listen and we're going to look and we're going to allow ourselves to be divinely guided by the infinite abundance within us that knows exactly how, when, and where to express itself, and we're just being guided, the human us. I've shared this story before. Some of you are new, so I'm going to share it again. I had a ministerial colleague. Her center was failing. It was close to shutting down. And she took it to prayer. She took it to meditation. And during her prayer and meditation, she got a divine, clear message. Go to Safeway. What? I don't need anything from Safeway. Let's just bring noise back to meditation. Go to Safeway. Third time, she got up and went to Safeway. Okay, I'm here. Now what? Get in line. I don't even have anything. So she got in line, picked up a piece of gum off the little shelf right there. Immediately, a woman got in line behind her, and out of the blue, where is the blue anyway? Right? This woman engaged her in conversation. Who are you? What do you do? And so she started sharing that. And in the short span of purchasing a pack of gum, the woman who got in line behind her wrote her a check for $10,000 for her center. Could she have imagined that? Sitting at her house, arguing with Go to Safeway? No, absolutely not. Are we willing to just step out on faith? Are we willing to not have all the details and just step into, okay, and then when you get to Safeway, now what? And listen, when I went through ministerial school, there was no money. It was a time in our life where our backs were against the wall financially. One of the people that licensed me as a practitioner, who I literally spent 20 minutes in their presence and had never seen or talked to them since, reached out to me on Facebook, of all places, and said, I need your address. I have something for you. Okay. And here comes a check for $1,000 with a note that said, this is the seed money for ministerial school. It's time. To which I laughed initially. Yeah, where's the other $29,000? This is a great start. Okay. And I stepped down on faith. I reached out to my practitioner, and we went to prayer. And it was okay. If this is what I'm supposed to do, everything will show up when it needs to show up. Somebody else started a GoFundMe account for me. I didn't even start it. Somebody else said, oh, I know what's going on with him. And they set that up. And for 2 years, 1 week before the money was due every term, it showed up. Every time. Every time. I've gone back, because I have a Capricorn brain, I have an MBA, I like numbers. I've tried to crunch the numbers and figure out where it all came from. I still can't make it balance. But I don't owe a dime to the Holmes Institute or to Centers for Spiritual Living, because it all got taken care of. Are we willing to surrender our finances to that kind of abundance? Are we willing to let go? I'm going to wrap up with this, going back to the ocean. Sometimes there's turmoil. Sometimes there are riptides. Right? If you're caught in a riptide, do you know the safest thing to do? Stop swimming. Stop fighting. Stop resisting. Go with the flow of the current. And eventually, it will dump you out in a safe spot. Perhaps swimming in the abundance is the same way. When we hit those riptides in our finances, what if you stop fighting? What if you surrender? What if you lean into the flow and just let it dump you out where it's safe to be, where your abundance is? Let's take this into prayer. Remembering, recollecting, knowing again that there is always only one, that we are each it in form, that it is everywhere present, expressing itself exquisitely in multiplicity of individualized expressions. I know that the infinite is fully present, is informing its creation of itself, is inviting each expression of itself to a greater experience of itself, to a greater experience of the abundance that is our nature, that is what we are. And so we open to that shift from getting to being, that shift from learning to remembering, that shift to simply embody what has always been present, life abundant in, through, and as each and every one of us. Knowing this to be true, I celebrate. I celebrate this infinite creation that only wants to express, that only wants to give to itself as its creation. And so we surrender any blocks. We surrender any limitation. We step into the riptide, go with the flow, knowing that we will always come out at the exact, perfect, safe, abundant, demonstrated space. We celebrate. And so in the celebration, we know that it's done, and so we let go. We let go with courage. We let go with conviction. We let go and get out of the way and let life unfold life. I invite you to join me as we say together, and so it is. Let's take a breath.